Hi all, so welcome to my presentation, and I am first going to introduce my audience to you. And we have Fauzia Sonye. Fauzia is a student in public health. Bashayar is a childhood speech language pathologist. So, and we also have Nicole.
Hi.
Nicole is a psychologist student at Iowa Western Community College. So we have a diverse audience with diverse expertise, and who is not, you guys are not really familiar with the Montessori approach of education, right?
No.
Or integrated system.
No.
But Bashaya, you will know a lot about early childhood, right?
True. A lot of information about early childhood and communication. Verbal and nonverbal communication.
Perfect. So that will make our discussion really interesting today. I am going to present to you my cumulative learning from my master's program. So for the past few months, I was attending the Montessori Integrative Learning Program with Endicott. They're located in Massachusetts, and it is an online program. So you wonder, there we go, coming back to my first slide. So this is what our platform look like, our learning environment for the course. So we have a library where we find all the documents. I mean, this is just where all the exchange happened, and I mean, it is a dense. It's a big community, and most of the students there really are in the education field. So they know what they're talking about, and they have great insights and creativity when it comes to the activities that we get to do. So my projects for this culminating work is reforming humanity through early childhood education. So I'll go over the introduction in just a second. Just wanted to introduce to you guys my mentor and our dean. So Julie Harrison is my mentor. She has been helping me through the process. It was a bumpy road for me, honestly, managing children, my other activities, the home, it was a lot. So she was really patient with me and helped me through this. And Dr. Yang is the dean. He's been very supportive as well. So to jump right into my work, I want to say that in this learning experience, really my main takeaway was the desire to find a practical solution that will positively advance the world through children. So I was just, some questions that were going through my mind was really how can we integrate our relationship with the universe and life to make it the foundation of children's education? Can we educate and raise world citizens who are conscious of the future of the universe? So also, how can we get those children to reconnect with our history? So therefore, understanding that history is going to be key in being able to answer those questions. Also, not only understanding our history, but also understanding the mechanism of our relationship with all the organisms that help establish the foundation for that change. So also, we are going to therefore we're going to take a step back to analyze the big picture about our evolution and how to reestablish the cosmic harmony so that we can add much more meaning to the purpose of our existence, right? So this is the outline of my introduction. We're gonna go over the history of human beings and our evolution, how we're all interconnected with the other, with all the components of the system of the universe, and also why is it a disintegrating system. We're gonna go through the integrated view and the crisis that we are going through. Am I going too fast on those slides?
No, you're okay.
All right. So finally, when we see what is wrong, as I discovered through my learning, we are going to go through the relational connections between us and see what is the purpose of that, what is the status of that harmony, what is it, how is it displayed, and we're going to see therefore how we can help reestablish that through education.
Mm-hmm.
So this quote really says a lot about the origin of life, and it is from Richard Dawkins. He's not really part of the authors that we studied in this program, but it's just something that really struck me because for me, when I understood the integrative aspect of universe of life, I still had that question of where did things start? What was the first thing in the universe, basically? So this is Dawkins' view on the birth of life. Even though I don't agree with it, I mean, it's logical. In some way it's true, because we all evolved, but let's read through it. It is a deep, complicated sentence, so we can slowly read and break it and discuss it. So he's saying that the universe could so easily have remained lifeless and simple, just physics and chemistry, just the scattered dust of the cosmic explosion that gave birth to time and space, referring to the Big Bang Theory. The fact that it did not, the fact that life evolved out of literally nothing, some 10 billion years after the universe evolved literally out of nothing, is a fact so staggering that I would be mad to attempt words to do justice to it. And even that, it's not the end. Not only did evolution happen, it eventually led to beings capable of comprehending the process by which they comprehended. So basically, understanding our existence is really what makes us understand ourselves. And coming out of nothing, life evolved, and that is how we came to be so diverse today. And we will look at a chart that shows our connection in just a moment.
Okay.
So life started, the universe grew, everything evolved. It is so big. How do we wrap our mind against that to have an integrative view and cosmic view that helps us think in a way that is going to be beneficial to all the components of that universe, not just a centered view that is only advantageous to us as humans. So there is an activity that we did in this program. I think it's very interesting for us, at least for me. It was mind-blowing when I did it with my family. So I'm going to share that with you. We're going to take 5 minutes to do that. And it's called Our Planet, Our Home, right here. So I'm not going to say much about it, but you would have pictures and arrows, and use it however you think you should. So, and we'll see what you come up with. After you're done, I will show you what I got from it. I'll let you get started on that. That doesn't come up. Okay. Stays there.
Let's see
This is the Milky Way.
what pictures do we have in here. Just like, let's look at the pictures.
Well, that's the Milky Way. And there's the sun.
These pictures is not
This one, this kind of joination, kind of look alike, almost. What are we having?
This is the Earth. But okay, so if you want to do this in order, do you want to do this in order of when they came, or do you want to do this in size? Because over here we have pictures of like mushrooms, and this is, what is this?
Like forests.
Yeah, for us. So we could do this. This looks like this is how things work online. It is a cycle of how things work
Sure,
on
yeah.
Earth.
Yeah, I feel that this is more of like the ecosystem cycle rather than the human cycle.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
So
So maybe this one can go
Next to those.
next to something that it's related to like water, air,
Nature, okay.
and then
nature,
plant.
rock,
Yeah.
And like this.
So
and then we could put the Earth with things that are in the space. I guess you could have. There's the Milky Way. In the Milky Way, you've got the sun, the Earth, all of that.
Can we see what we got over here?
yeah, sorry, here you go. Oh,
And then
there's
on
also
the
like
Earth-
some sand.
Well, then on the Earth, you could connect to all of these because these
Okay.
are all on the Earth.
Okay.
Mhm.
Alright, so the other pictures right here.
Yeah, so you have this one too. Or shall I put this one in the ecosystem?
And this is all food, but it's all natural food, unprocessed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Organic food.
Organic
Maybe
food.
here.
with dirt,
Dirt.
yeah, because it comes out of the dirt.
How about this one?
What is it?
It's like rock, tree. Oh, maybe.
That looks like a system, kind of. So I would put it. With the other system.
The one that has
No, this is not an
green.
ecosystem.
No, but it.
It's like, yeah, it's trying to show us like, you know, there's life outside and
The
life
li-
inside, and then
The
there's-
interaction between like animals and then plants
and then
and then
yeah.
water.
That's
And then
really
seafood,
interesting.
so
Mm, interesting.
This is technology and
this
evolution.
should be the latest.
Yeah, it should be like,
gardening.
and this should go with. There's another picture of cars. I put cars with that.
Let's see.
The beach life.
Ooh, interesting.
Even building a house technically is a form of evolution, or not a form of evolution, but
Maybe the earlier
Part of
one.
yeah,
Mhm.
because
Latest.
building shelter is kind of complex. It's kind of a sign of intelligence.
Complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, comes natural. That's what they used to build before
Mm.
actually having houses.
So I would say all of these actually go together. I could.
will put the arrow.
Okay.
You wanna just group them together?
Yeah, we
Make
can
all
make
you think?
another group. But I think we should connect it with this group
Mhm.
and kind of put it over here.
Okay.
We can put clothing, houses. These are signs of intelligence.
Okay.
You know, dogs don't walk around wearing clothes.
Of course.
So
That's
humans do. Humans build houses and wear clothes, and they're intelligent. Not that dogs aren't, but they're not as intelligent.
Yeah. And usually
They don't have
human
a
do
mind.
put like wear them clothes. They don't wear their own clothes.
Yeah,
We
and
do.
then these are basic human
So-
qualities. We can go on technology as more of an advanced human quality.
Okay, so where do we put the human evolve from here then? And then here? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, this looks like a fetus.
Mm-hmm.
So we can put
where's the baby?
we can
there?
put that there, and then the baby, and then show the children like growing up.
Yeah.
And then okay, so
And here's the children again, I guess.
Mushrooms, and you have
Here,
some green
here.
stuff. Do you think so?
Mushrooms is food, so I'd put it with the natural foods.
foods.
And it comes out of the dirt, so you can say
It comes to children.
it grows from the dirt.
Let me see. Can I have another error?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this? Mashara,
Let me see.
right here. What we
Sorry
have?
guys, I'm kind of slow processor in here.
No problem.
Take it while.
Oh no, here. Why not here?
Yeah.
The arrow. Nicole,
Okay.
you don't want one more arrow?
Because like we're getting this light from the sun.
Well, we could connect it all here, so they're all connected.
And they are in the galaxy or whatever.
Yeah.
The Milky Way.
Well, because you start out with something big, like a big idea, like the galaxy, and then you're just saying what's in it. You've got the sun, you've got the
Yeah.
earth, and then on the earth, you've got all of these other things.
Okay.
Which is the sky, the
So
water,
maybe just
the bacteria.
that live in the like the nature that
Yeah, so probably this one is like
Like
actually
the
here before
nitrogen or
before
whatever.
the mushrooms,
phosphorus.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or maybe way before that even.
Yeah, even way before that.
Molecules could even be over here because if you zoom into the galaxy and you look into it, it's all made up of
Yeah.
molecules.
Yeah,
It's the very
elements like
smallest. Yeah.
Yeah.
like oxygen,
but there's like there's
nitrogen.
like molecules that it's related to like chemicals, and there's
Yeah.
molecules that it's more of like biological, and then
But it's the beginning of everything.
that's true. But these are sounds like more of
The beginning and I would say,
something like it's not the beginning. It's like the beginning of what it already.
but it make it
established.
work too
Yeah.
because
Alright.
like those one
Yeah.
with
Yeah. So maybe, sorry, I'm making it hard, but it's like maybe I feel
So why is this one just by itself?
just to show the cycle how it goes. And then, and I agree, this one, the evolution to,
This one is more.
yeah. And then, yeah.
Okay, no,
Okay.
maybe let's put the like this. This is more the interaction. So we have the plant
Yes.
here, and then the baby with the dad, and the
Yeah.
interaction between the animals, the plants, and the humans.
Mhm.
Like here.
Okay.
And what else?
So
And what do you have over there, though?
Well, this is technology
Oh.
over here.
That's pretty neat.
This is people, you can see them on computers and writing things, and over here you've got cars.
Mm-hmm.
nice. And I like that the fact that human made those things. Like we
Yes.
start building houses, we make clothes, and then we even create recreation.
Mm-hmm.
This
Before
is-
it was just like maybe go and then hunt and then go on mountain to be able to have. I mean, like it was just like we were not create exactly basic recreation, but
True.
So basic and then advanced, and
Advanced.
then and it all just fits back in.
and yeah.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much that's what we have.
Wait, one more thing. Sorry. Alright, how about you just do this to show like it's going this way?
Sure. Looks cute.
Thanks. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
I think we should, yeah.
We can even set it up like this if we want to. Like have them all closer together and have just the arrows coming
Present.
out of it, if that's how you want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the galaxy in the very middle,
No, you wanted to keep
and then
it
you've
like
got the Earth and the Sun. Have the arrows going up there,
Yeah.
and then from the Earth and the Sun, you've got these are things that are
Oh, the rest is perfect. You don't have to change these.
okay.
I think that should
Yeah.
sound like a mess.
This should be a really cool thing to give to kids. Like,
to play with.
Yeah.
well, not even just play with, but in schools to see when you're teaching them about evolution or how things are developing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can say, well, what is your opinion? And then have a conversation. I'm talking about fifth, sixth graders.
Mm-hmm.
I heard your conversation as you were going through this, and you had some of the same questions we were asking, we were wondering about as we were making our arrangements at home. But what made you come up with what you came up with? I mean, it was really eclectic. You guys were just sharing all the ideas. But why this final arrangement?
I think because, and it was originally Bashire's brilliant idea, was that everything comes from the universe. The universe is the beginning, and then it goes to things that are in the universe, the earth, the sun, everything that is, the sun shines down into the sky, feeds the ecosystem, water, mountains, and it goes on. Over here, we've got the earth, you've got things that are on the earth, you've got basic technology, recreation, to advanced technology, recreation. You've got human beings, you've got like signs of a fetus or other, whatever you want to say, you've got babies and animals and natural foods. It's all connected in this huge environment, but it begins with the galaxy.
I agree. How about these arrows over there? I was wondering about those, the one crossing each other.
No, they just moved.
And then one
Those
more.
one, which those two?
Yeah.
No, they were just like
Okay, they're not
those
supposed
come
to be
from
in there?
the universe. Yeah. No, they're support, but they were not crossing it. They should be like this.
Okay.
One idea that Nicole was correct. One thing that I tried to point out that everything here, it's not like the universe is not like kind of the beginning. The universe is like the thing that includes all of these.
The home of
Yeah,
all of those,
so
the house.
Everything is inside it. It's not necessarily the beginning of it. It's more like this is where we are at. So this is the star that we belong to, and this is the whole Milky Way that the rest of things
Just
are.
say the house.
Yeah. And
Those are the
specifically the
components.
rest of these lives are included in the earth.
So basically what you're saying in very, very simple terms is that this is the house and this is the furniture inside the house.
I'm trying to make
Technically,
them
technically,
equal,
I kind of like your analogy
Because
of the
it came
universe
from
being
her
a
and
house
then-
and everything else is like the furniture inside
The
the house.
furniture, decorations. Yeah.
And I'm
keep
gonna
saying
take one
the
final
house
picture
is
of. All right. The only question I have is I can see that this guy feeding the baby is
Feeding?
coming out of holding the baby
Okay.
is coming. He's at the end of an arrow that comes from the universe to the fetus to this guy.
Yes. And at the same time, we did it like this because, what is it supposed to? Okay, so we had it here. He came from here. But then, like, this shows the interaction between the animal life, the plants, and whatever, and the human together. So that's why we wanted to have him at the extremity here and show the interaction of all of them.
But I do think she has a point. Instead of coming from the universe, it should come from the earth.
And
Yes.
yeah, that's where my thoughts were going because we don't really know if there is any human existence in the other planets,
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I would
Actually,
have
it's been
done it
proven
that
that
way.
there
so
isn't in the Milky Way.
There
so
isn't, right?
In the Milky Way, there's no other life on any other planet. Outside the Milky Way is what we're questioning. We found other galaxies.
There might be life on them.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But not in the Milky Way. We're the only planet that has life on it.
So many theories.
Mhm.
You can't really tell what is true and what is not.
Not ever probably, but definitely not this early. Still early.
So this is what ours look like. We started from the sun, feeding everything else, and you started from the galaxy. So I think, fair enough. I don't think there is any right or wrong arrangement. It's just how we understand it. So that just show that the purpose of this activity is not really to find how, to say that there is one way, how we are all connected in this universe, but the purpose is just to see that we are connected.
Yeah.
So whatever is making sense for you, that's what it is, as long as you're integrating everything together. We know that many theories explain the origin of life. So there is a video that we watched in this program, The Awakening Universe by Neil Rajan. If you get a chance, you should watch it. I wish I had more time, I would have played it here, but we don't have so much time. But it is very interesting. He shows how everything evolved to the various species that are existing today. So really my understanding on the universe and its components is that we are all meant to complete each other. As you can see that there's so many ways to make this arrangement, and yet they're all true. We can all find the reason why this is the arrangement. So that just shows the connection. We are interconnected in so many ways. There isn't one way there isn't one link and it's not a one-way link between us. So this is a graph that just shows how the various species of animals that exist are connected to each other and how they evolved. So the green square show what we're closer to. This is another view of our interconnection with the other components of life. Aristotle thinks that there is a hierarchy. I guess we can agree to disagree, we can debate that, but what do you think?
I actually do agree to an extent, not entirely. But I think that this, whatever you want to call it, this chain, it says it's a great chain of being. And at the top it says being, as in a living being. And then at the bottom there's non-being. Okay, so assuming that you believe in God, which I do, now with the assumption that God does exist, then at the top, God is going to be there, being the greatest being. So he should be there. And after God would come his angels, and then after that, the demons, because they are alive. We admit their existence.
Exactly.
So they're going to be at the top because we admit their existence.
Mhm.
Humans are going to be in the middle because humans have, yes, we're alive, and yes, demons and angels are alive, but humans have something to separate us. We have clay, we have skin, we have bodies. This puts us on the planet with things like animals, plants, minerals. It puts us on their level. So we're kind of in the middle between this higher level of existence and this simple level of basic earthly existence. That's why I do agree with it.
In my life, I feel like it's like minerals, plant, animals, man, God. That's it. This is like, to me, but in terms of existence, I agree to this. But in
I can
terms
see
of
your point each. I share same beliefs as you ladies. I think that everything else is more important than man. And that's just for the fact that men cannot survive alone without anything else, but everything else here would survive without men.
Well,
In which it has happened, right? Before really men coming to life, all these
Those
were
were
there.
existing, yeah.
yeah,
And then we came, right?
true.
So, and now we still need all that to live.
Dependent, yeah.
We're dependent on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I really would have put everything up there and then men on the bottom.
Thank you.
Definitely.
There you go. That's where we are.
I would just say one thing.
Okay.
I was thinking about, you wanted to hear the opinion or the viewpoint of an atheist. Well, I would suppose that an atheist would say something like this. An atheist would think, by their views, maybe the bottom would be similar or the same, but then instead of God, angels, and demons, an atheist would expand their thoughts to what is outside of this earth. They would expand to the galaxy, they would expand to other galaxies, they would expand to stars. It's just anything there is that is greater than our understanding, or the possibilities. You could even go into the possibilities of aliens or other life forms in other galaxies. That's where an atheist would go, whereas a religious person would go towards outside of earth, there's God, there's heaven. That's kind of the difference now. I'm going to stop.
And that comment that you just made, putting yourself in an atheist's shoes and assuming what they're going to think, that is very interesting, and we're going to come back to it towards the end, when we're going to understand the behavioral relationships between us and the other elements, right?
Okay.
So, because we're all related with similar genes in origin, it seems like there is an implicit communication going on. An example would be how we interact with human beings, best friends, cat, dogs. We live with them daily, right? We can communicate with them, we know what they need, we can understand their clues. Sometimes we can just look at them and know, without them saying a word, right? Obviously they don't speak like we do. We don't speak the same language. So this is what this is talking about, basically. So Capra is saying that the key characteristics of communication for all living creatures is the ability to coordinate their behavior, whether or not granted a nervous system. So you don't have to have a brain to communicate. For communication to exist, you don't need a brain to communicate. For communication to exist, both parties don't need to have a nervous system. Whether a nervous system granted a nervous system or not, there will be communication. And an example that can come to my mind is when a little child is learning to walk and they come across this huge furniture, they would stop right? How do they know? There wasn't any language right there. But just seeing the texture, the look, the appearance, they understand that this is going to be a roadblock. So I need to go around it. So that is the communication that I think is existent within us, but the way our life has become, we rush in so much, we don't really wait and listen to the nature around us, and therefore we dominate the nature, and we use it to our benefits, and we all know what is going on right now. I mean, global warming. If we were paying a little more attention to the nature around us, we wouldn't be where we are, perhaps. I'm not sure, but maybe. So the evolution of the human being is one illustration of the responsiveness to nature and wilderness. And just thinking also, using the human being as an example, thinking of how the human being started walking. It was because of a need. The need to get food, right, from trees that are up there. The need to build a shelter to protect from natural events. So that with that, his characteristics evolved, and we look like what we look today, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second type of communication that is important to also be conscious of, it's the language that we speak. That is something, that is a tool, that is maybe our biggest tool. So even though the ability to communicate is innate to every human being and can be non-verbal or verbal, so language is man-made itself. That came after the first type of communication. So, and that is really to facilitate the interaction and the domination of the universe, of the world. So, language is defined as a set of standards with associated meaning determined as conventional communication medium for a specific group. Right? Am I right, Bashaya? Do I have the right definition here?
What?
Speech language pathology.
That's your
Yeah.
area. So,
Well, just one thing to
Mhm.
share. I wanted to share on the other slide, but through my area of study,
yes.
we had a discussion about like the importance of language versus communication, and then how they are. Like, yes, we need both. We need, like, you know, the nonverbal communications, also the verbal communications. But actually, the nonverbal communication, your example of a pet and then the wall, the nonverbal communication takes the majority of the communication than the verbal ones. And if I recall correctly, the nonverbal communication takes about 70% of the interaction. So I make
70% of our interaction is non-verbal.
non-verbal, and then the rest of it is verbal. It's just like when I come talk to you, you might say words, but your face can express these words as well. I can listen to her and it will be fine, but when I look at her first, I can maybe get more meaning to what she's trying to say.
Or even
maybe
a different meaning that I'm saying.
because maybe she would say, "Yo, I'm feeling okay." And then if her face didn't seem like it, maybe sometimes you say like, "Oh, I'm feeling okay." And then you will get expressions that, no, you're saying something, but maybe there's more into it. You know, like that's why verbal communications, nonverbal communications, and the nonverbal is like more.
I agree with
Interesting.
you.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So keeping in mind that 70% of our, from the experts, right? 70% of our communication
It's
is
non-verbal.
non-verbal. So the explicit language that we speak, that's only 30%. And then when you communicate, there is no purpose in communication unless there is a dialogue, right?
True.
Because communication can just be one way, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it was productive or effective unless there was a dialogue. So in a dialogue, it's well, we're gonna jump right into David Bohm's quote here. The ecological problem is due to thought, because humans have thoughts that the world is there for us to exploit. He asserts that as long as humans think that the world is there for our convenience, we're going to make another problem elsewhere. So we only pay attention to the content of our thought rather than the process of our thoughts. And that is kind of what we touched on, explaining the different type of communication that exists. So basically our thoughts have dominated the system from what he's saying. So, and the dialogue is an exchange of ideas. It means that when there's a dialogue, there is a communication, there's understanding. Unfortunately, with our thoughts, that is unbalanced. There is a disequilibrium there, and maybe we're not really understanding each other, and we're just imposing our thoughts. So there is a difference now between communication and really imposing your thoughts, right?
True.
So when we're only imposing our thoughts, that is when going through I was doing more reading online about the domination of human being and human thoughts in this system, and I came across the term of personalism, and personalism is really means thoughts, a system centered around the person. So your system will be centered around you as a person, your needs, your wants, what you care, your opinions, and that is how you see everything around you. And that is a problem, right? Because now we're ignoring everything else that exists with us in this universe. So
That's true. I agree to your point in terms of like we really personalize everything to us. We don't think beyond the picture. Well, like now we care about global warming because if it's if it's increased, that's mean it's gonna cause problem. Probably people are gonna start dying because of the increase in heat and dehydration, whatever like the problem is. And then I think I read an article, or like I heard some people. I had a discussion about this, in terms of like the bipolar mountains, you know, the ice mountains. If they get melted, the increase they're gonna be like floods, and then the increase of the sea level will increase, and that's really dangerous. It might like take a whole content away, you know, like it's just really dangerous. That's why now we're caring about it. But think about the other things that now it's happening, but since we don't realize how the major cause of it, we're not like paying attention because like, oh, you know, maybe it's a problem, but we don't care as long as it's not impacting our life, you know. So it's really
well, and you have to think
so
about
when you
how
look
it
at this
affects.
arrangement, looking at this arrangement and what you just said, we're here, right? Where are the cars?
Here.
oh here.
Right there, right? It definitely it's gonna impact everything here.
Sure.
But we live in our own bubbles and we only see that.
Well, if you think about it, think about evolution. Think about, first of all, with evolution, if you believe in evolution, then you have to believe that it is still occurring.
It is still occurring.
Yeah, it is. I'm just saying that from the basis that if we believe that it is still occurring, then you have to look at the purpose of evolution. Evolution is so that, we'll use humans as an example, we evolved and our bodies changed and our senses developed based on what we needed. And it was just so that we could keep surviving. Well, this might make some people mad, but look at the planet. We're abusing it, so the planet is evolving. If a continent disappears, that's the planet evolving to survive. It's part of evolution because the Earth is reforming itself to continue to survive. The Earth will still exist long after humans die off. I believe that. So.
Basically, being centered around our own thoughts has kind of removed us from that organic reality, right? So, like you said, man evolved as a whole. Earth evolved to survive. We evolved to survive, and Earth evolved to be able to accommodate our changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just back into that. We're just now comfortable into that mechanistic reality, right? Where everything is according to our need, and we just make it happen how we want it, how we need it, and it's not really not happening naturally and organically. So there are many theories where ecologists are considering the whole system as an ecological community, a collection of organisms bound into a functional whole by their mutual relationships. So the same concept is transposed as at different levels of the system. So the living and non-living systems, whether it is a community or a network, each component of this system is actually a complex ecosystem itself. Therefore, there are three levels of distinction within the living system. We have the organisms, we have parts of the organisms, and we have the community of organisms. So when you have to accommodate all these three, now you have this system that becomes so complex, where when something goes wrong, you can undo it, right? Because it's so complex, it's so interconnected. And each level is a functioning system itself. So we have this loops into the loop, right, into one. And at that point, the system is just maintaining itself. We cause the action, but we have no control over the consequences because it's so complex that it's just nature continues and adjusts based on our actions.
The world is evolving without us. If we can't keep up, that's our problem.
So that's where we are at. That was my thought, and I was thinking, it is really our problem. So therefore, maybe we need to do something about it. I mean, so basically, the human is evolving in an orderly universe because the universe has an order. Things are related. Things affect each other in a certain way, right? Everything is interconnected, but affecting each other in a certain way. Everything has a purpose. Everything has a benefit. And everything has its place. Because obviously, we can't have, you have the sea, you have earth, you have specific systems that live in each part, right? So, but also that universe, because of the convenient order, it was easy for the human being to independently explore that. Because when the human came, there was no instructions on how to live on earth, right? Everything was learned and developed based on needs through his hands.
Yes.
And that is what really shaped our statue, right? To what we look today. We're not bent down anymore. We're straight up, sit in two legs. We have our hands, so practical to do so much to get food, to shape the environment, build houses. Everything that we need to survive and protect us because we're so weak. And because we're able to do so much change to the universe and to the system, we think we own it, we think we control it, and we make the decision for it. But can we create this kind of setting to change future adults? I'm thinking that it is easier to change something or someone within the familiar environments. Not really taking anything out of context, because now you're gonna have to run two battles. Not only change the system, but also getting accustomed to that new system. So within the same system, within the same type of functionality, trying to, if we can change that system, and because we're the main actors in that system, and we're the main influence of the changes, so that change, maybe if we should change it, maybe it should start with us, right? Changing ourselves. And that is where, at that point in the program, when I came to that realization, it clicked to me that maybe there is an educational system that is a little more organic and more that is ordered, that allows independent exploration, that emphasize on the use of hands. So, and that is when I'm thinking, then why not through a practical education approach, an integrative education approach, to be able to change future adults, and then so work on children through early childhood education. So that takes us into the Montessori method of education. There are others. This is the one I know more about, so I will just explain what it takes. Basically, the Montessori method is based on the child's inner power. So just like the natural instincts of the child lead how they learn, the same way as the natural instincts of the human being led him to establish himself in earth, right? So basically, I'm thinking with this, maybe we're maintaining the same context, right? We're not really taking the human being out of context. So it's gonna be the same functioning system. And we're gonna see that a little further. I have two diagrams to compare. So the purpose of the classroom is to create a prepared environment where the student is free to discover and advance his or her unique power while disciplined enough to stay focused on a specific series of tasks. So that is that is the difference between this controlled environment to shape the future human being and really the natural worlds that we live in, is the ability, the opportunity to be able to stay focused on a specific task and have somebody who can always guide you back to the same. So it's just establishing that thinking process of being aware of surroundings and caring about everything around you and being able to stay focused. That mindset, when a child grows with it, we're hoping that it will be a child who can think twice before killing a tree, before grabbing a leaf from a tree, right? We're hoping that it will be a child who can think twice before driving a car that is 20 years old. Pollution, I'm thinking of pollution. Maybe that was a bad example, but do you get what I mean?
I understand.
Perfect. So what is the prepared environment? Basically, this is what a Montessori classroom looks like. Everything is in order, no clutters. When you have no clutter, your mind is thinking straight, right? This is another classroom. I have a couple of pictures here.
Nice.
Do you see the difference between a normal classroom, a regular traditional classroom, and what this arrangement look like?
No desks. Instead, they have tables.
This is not staying. There we go.
But what's funny to me is we're talking about saving the environment and everything's made out of wood, chopped trees.
Did you see that? I was gonna come to that. So I'm glad you recognized that. And that is also part of the purpose of the prepared environment. Everything is natural, so just recreating that.
Recycled wood, I guess?
It's just recreating the natural environment.
Like an environment made of natural things instead of
that's what I
having
mean.
Instead of having artificial things, so.
Yeah, but at the same time, getting the fact that we're killing trees, that's another.
But I will
The fact
I
that
will
we are
defend
killing
boundaries.
trees.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
defend you
We are killing
because
trees
it is
here, and we're talking
proven.
about saving nature.
But I'm going to defend you because it's proven that creating plastic and creating artificial products is actually more harmful, and it puts out more
That was gonna be
chemicals
my objection to her
than cutting
comments.
down trees.
My
Yes,
comment
that would have been my
about
objection to
killing
your comment
cutting
because
trees?
we are cutting trees, but we're
No, I'm
growing more
with cutting
trees.
trees. I'm with cutting trees. I'm
Okay,
not against
so we're
it.
growing
It's a
more.
renewable source.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that is I don't even have to say anything. You ladies, you said it all. So I believe we have another picture here, how everything is organized, and that allows the child to be independent as they can come, help themselves whatever they want to work on it, bring it back. So again, the discipline and the focus that we're trying to build into that future adult.
So you're establishing an environment.
Exactly. So the curriculum used in that method, it's a curriculum that is tailored to the sensitivity to the sensitive development of the child. So the child as he's growing into an adult is going through different phases, and at different stages there are some things that are more important to him. He's more curious about something more than the other. So we're not going to go into too much details because this is not a Montessori sales presentation. At age of at birth, the child only want to feed. He just want to be fed. He automatically learns how to suckle, right? So that is a tendency. That is a human tendency. So the need for that food, right, just makes him learn how to. He naturally learns how to suckle and how to get that food, right? So the sensitive period, basically at that time when he needs to be fed, there is a light bulb that just brightens his thought. This is the way to get it, and he just discovered that magically, just like I like to come back to that comparison with the human being in the jungle. When we think of Tarzan, who taught him what? It was all about the right tool at the right time when the right need was there. So this is the same process. The material is there, and the child has access to it at the right time when he needs to satisfy that curiosity, when he's going through that stage for that curiosity. So we're gonna watch this video. Can I click on this? Yes. This is a 3-minute video about how the child use the material. So Maria Montessori likes to say that the material is the gymnasium of the spirit. So the material is not really what you see, it's really what you get out of using it. And every child will get different things, because as you will see, the Montessori classroom is a mixed age classroom, and they're using the same material. At the age of 3, the child is learning one thing, but the 5-year-old using the same material is getting a different knowledge out of it, and because they have different tendencies at those ages. Does that make sense?
I like that saying, the material is the gymnasium of the spirit.
Yes.
That's a very, very good.
That's deep.
Yeah, I like it.
Objects often need to correlate with infant-sensitive theories.
Yeah.
Supporting repeated, sustained explorations of these objects enables infants to build concentration. Notice that the object permanence box, matched with 9.5-month-old Bailey, captivates her and builds her ability to concentrate, as well as her eye-hand coordination. Activities should encourage repetition, allow for some struggle, and build an appropriate skill. Many of these activities can be homemade. When infants show little interest in an activity, the task is generally either too challenging or too easy. Remember, objects made of natural materials, or materials that mimic the natural, offer the richest opportunities for touch. These stimulate finger-based exploration and hand-to-brain connection.
So we saw how this child was kind of struggling with that toy and figuring out himself how to make it work. Even though she actually discovered what was the purpose of the toy, but repetition, she just kept doing the same thing, right? But then the ball was always had a different outcome, right? It will always come through us, going through a certain way. And then that is, for us, seeing it, it seems so simple and maybe unnecessary, but in that child's brain, the child did not even notice that they were being filmed, right? There was a camera around. They weren't even attracted by that. They were so focused on their work and building that knowledge. So again, with that type of environments, the prepared environments, we have a specialized material. You have the teacher in a Montessori system called the guide, because they're really not a teacher, because they are not imposing their thoughts on the child, but they are just there to guide, just to set up the environment, make sure that it's clean and orderly in ordered for the child. They help the child only when the child requests it, and they observe, they do not judge. And they act as a role model to teach respect, social etiquette to the children. So when I'm comparing those two systems, this is what I have in mind. In the real bigger picture of the universe, and us as humans, as basically the learners in it, we have God that inspires and nurtures us without us even asking. And then we connect with our physical environments, which we think we control. And in between the two, it's an area of wisdom that happens. It's a wisdom. It's something that happens between them, and we don't have any control over that or say over that. It's there. All we know is when we need it, we use it, right? Same in a Montessori classroom, where you have the guide inspiring and nurturing the child. When they notice those human tendencies, they notice those sensitive periods, they are to guide the child towards the appropriate work or material that will help them satisfy that curiosity and develop that knowledge. So, and that child the material is there, prepared and organized for the child to help himself, work with it, and build that knowledge and satisfy that curiosity, that inner need, basically. So, and the guide set up the environment in a certain way to, basically, you have 5 environments in the Montessori classroom. You have 5 settings. You have the practical life area, the sensorial area, you have the math, language, and social studies area. So the teacher organized all that according to the students in the classroom, and that is something that is between the teacher and the classroom, right? The child had nothing to do with it. They don't know that the classroom is purposely set up to meet their needs. The same way as the nature is there, it meets all our needs. It was purposely set up that way, and we didn't ask for it. We have no knowledge of it. So that is why I see that this educational setting really, as well as a reproductive system. And what is really a self-reproductive system? There is a new word that basically came to describe that, and that is what autopoiesis means in what I mentioned in my outline. It is a process in which the system reproduces and replaces its own components and distinguishes itself from the environment. So from Rodolph here, we can learn that the autopoietic dynamics between all the components of living systems is basically the interconnection between all the elements of the system, when the behavior of one system influences that of another. So, do you see what that, is that definition clear to all of you ladies? Mm-hmm. All right. So when we know the system, when we know how the system works and how it reproduces itself, and we understand that it's self-perpetuating, right? We also should be aware of our role within that system. And that is our mind, right? That's our brain, our thoughts, as we talked about earlier. So neurophrenology is basically a science that studies the conscious from the perspective of the person doing the thinking himself. Reading the definition will probably be a little more clear. So basically, it studies the mind and experience with an emphasis on the embodied condition of the human mind. And that is the state of your thoughts. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So in my understanding, basically, at this point, our behavior, our reactions as individuals are a reflection of our thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, basically, when you agree that it's a reflection of our thinking, that is subjectivity, right? And that makes me wonder if anything can ever be objective. So, and just with that I came to the realization that objectivity is maybe just what is common between us. So whatever is similar in our thoughts, if we agree with something, we think it's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it might not be, right?
That's true.
Well, you have to be open-minded.
You have
If you
to be
want
open-minded.
you're raised with a certain viewpoint, you're raised with a certain environment, and if you're not an open-minded person, then you'll never grasp and higher knowledge of any kind.
And that is why we need to be more aware of our conscience, right? So we
Mhm.
can keep an open mind. So understanding, when you understand the system, you understand your thought. Now understanding, like you said, how we interact with each other, right, with an open mind.
Mhm.
And that there is a science to that as well, and that is the structural coupling. Basically, it sees the system as an organization, which is the settings and the structure with determined parties, right? A determined system within that organization. So, and that is when our behavior really can affect the other person. And we did a research as educators, that is your first battle. Being able to understand yourself, understand the system, making sure that you're letting the system organically reproduce and
Mhm.
advance without you imposing your thoughts, because that's what we're trying to get away from, right?
Yes.
So basically, when we did that experiment, I did it at the classroom that I'm doing my internship at, the Montessori Educational Centers of Omaha. So I did the hand washing exercise. I wish I can show you the video, but there are some students in there that the parents did not agree to show the video. So when we did that experiment, basically, I was recorded doing the hand washing exercise with the kids watching me, and that is how you give a Montessori lesson to teach your children how to use the material. You first do it, they watch you, and then they reproduce what you did. So on the basis of neurophenomenology, science, and research techniques, I made this third-person observation, right? Removing myself from the system and just describing what I'm seeing. This was my observation. I'm just seeing the kids, some of them restless. I'm just seeing the actions that they're doing. Everything is physical. My first-person observation now contains a little more thought in it because I'm really talking about me, what I was going through as I was doing the research, the presentation. Now, this was difficult for me to get in. And that is when you made the comment, as an atheist, you think this is how they should think.
Mhm.
Now, we're back into imposing our thoughts because there is no guarantee that that is what the atheists would think, right? Because you were not told that.
No,
You made
but
an assumption.
I based that off of because I was raised in a family of both my father's side of the family was religious, but I wasn't really raised around them very often. I just saw them occasionally. My main family, like my mother and my siblings, they were atheists. And before I found Islam, I always believed in God. I was kind of spiritual. So I sort of had a viewpoint of different perspectives. I had the atheist viewpoint. I had I believe in God, but I'm not a specific religion. I even had the Catholic viewpoint because I would visit my father's family and get that Catholic viewpoint. And now that I'm Muslim, I have this Muslim viewpoint. So I have a pretty good understanding of how they see things and their opinions.
So based on structural coupling research showing that your thought or whatever your thoughts and your actions are determined according to a settings at that time. And the research shows that in a different context it would be different.
Okay.
Right?
I understand.
So basically, if you were to make that assumption a few years back, as you were influenced in the middle of the atheist without your immersion into the religion that you are now, as you are now, do you think that thought would have been different?
Well, I can't guarantee anything because I'm not the
Exactly,
same
we
person.
can't guarantee anything, right?
But I think it would be the same because I'm
you
trying
think
Yeah.
that's the key.
Okay, I think.
So basically, that is what we're trying to be more conscious of, right? So this was this is what I thought was my third person observation, basically. It still has some thoughts in it. And then my first clue that I was wrong should have been that I see Miss Bokisa washing her hands. I see Miss Bokisa washing her hands. I mean, after I was explained by my mentor that how I was wrong, how I was really off track into that observation, that is when I realized my first intention should have been my first clue, that I wasn't really making a third person observation because I'm starting with an I.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a third person.
Mm-hmm.
So again, just being conscious of our thought and not really imposing our thought on other people's, and thinking that we're thinking what they should be thinking or what they would be thinking.
Exactly.
So basically that summarized really my experience from that program, and I think my learning really culminated to more of a call to action. And maybe it's just my personality, something is wrong, how do we fix it? Just wanted to be proactive. But this is not to try to convince you of anything or any specific set of mindset. So it really allowed me to understand our history, our environment, the components of the system, our behavior, relationship, connections, and consequences, and also understand the relevance of an integrative educational approach, because it might really help us make the world a better place. Just from seeing what happens with us as we evolved, right? Any other questions? I mean, this has been more of a discussion rather than a presentation, and I think we're way over.
But that's not a bad thing because we asked our questions while they were still fresh in our mind. So you got the best benefit of our opinions.
True.
There we go. So
Totally agree.
yes.